Okay, how do you scale your business? Now, I have a few learnings from the last 6 months on truly how you can scale your business, and this is something that I have learned through trial and error and just complete repeat and failing, and pretty much now understanding with just some clarity, because the way things really move when you're really entering new territories and you're just trying to like punch against the wall and just grow your business. It typically starts to unveil after a few weeks and months, especially when you're trying to scale even more. Like, for example, the latency, it usually increases with time as the more you scale. So I have a few business lessons and also an update on the business really about what were really my core learnings from the last 6 months, my failures, and also what do I have planned for 2026, what we really want to hone down if I really want to achieve true scale, and I'll achieve like a multi six figure monthly run rate. So at least 2.5 million in revenue by the end of this year. To achieve that sort of scale, what am I planning, right? So at the stage when you go from six no five figures a month to 6 figures a month, the goal really changes, right? You want to obviously think now more hiring, you want to think more scale, you want to think more how can I get these players inside my business that's going to then get me to scale, right? Because eventually you can't really do anything on your own. And the first lesson that I'm about to share here is a trap of what I thought, because when I thought, okay, I cannot do it on my own, it automatically led me to believe that I'm just hiring for capacity, when in reality, you have to be hiring for leverage, okay? Capacity comes with that leverage, but you're really aiming for leverage. So, a big lesson was um, the difference between A players and B players. It's massive. Okay, it's really massive, and you don't want to just hire people to do the work. You want to hire them to actually achieve leverage. Okay, so you want to just really give them the overarching KPIs. Obviously, you should give them clear ownership, clear idea and target of where are we headed, what are we trying to do, how does your function play into the entire agency's role, and then have them go and achieve it. Okay, so you cannot really be telling them what to do in terms of the actual day-to-day and like micromanaging, microtasking, all those things, because that is honestly where you cannot hire, like, you're not going to retain A players if you do shit like that, firstly. Okay, so you need to remove the mindset from hiring for capacity to hiring for leverage and hiring for scale. Okay, the A players, you will really know them in the first 14 days. You will know that if a person is an A or B player within the first 7 to 14 days itself. Because when you give them these KPIs, you give them these clear targets, these are your overarching high level goals. These are going to be like KPIs, and then there's going to be like projects under that they have to go and then do out. And obviously, the team will be there to support in that. Sometimes, especially in any business, there's a lot of functions involved, so there'll be more than one person that plays in it. But it's mainly your job to get them all involved together and go and attack these projects. Okay, and you want to very clearly define what these projects are, what these KPIs are, and you will know that A player when they actually go and then they're able to do it by themselves. Okay, when I say by themselves, they're kind of like a bit self-sufficient, and you're not really like telling them this is how it is done, this that. No, like, they're gonna have to come to you. Okay, a big thing about A players versus B players is, so for example, anytime you have a meeting with the team or whatever it is, they should be the one coming to you and telling you what the agenda is of the meeting, or if you have an agenda of or an update of what you need or what is happening and you need from them, they should come prepared for that meeting. And really, most of that time, it should be them talking to you, not the other way around. Okay, that is a true difference between an A versus a B, C player, whatever it is. Okay, so if you really want to retain good talent and also have them in the business, you need to set those clear standards. Okay, you need to set those clear goals, because for A players, they don't just want money. Okay, you're gonna have to pay them a good salary, and I'm gonna get into that in a second, but you really want to define that for them. Okay, what does success really look like? Because it's not just about money for A players. Okay, they can go and get money anywhere else too. Okay, they're good people. Like, you don't have to be just the founder to have insane money. Your employees can get paid very well too, and beyond that, they need a fucking target. Okay, they need to be like a killer with a killer instinct, and those are usually the A players. So make sure you do that. Now, the second thing, okay, scale truly comes from leverage. Now, I talked about leverage with hires and whatnot, but I'm talking now more client facing, which is in the start of the business model. Okay, when I first started, I did think about leverage, but it was still small, because I was thinking, okay, how can I get a few $1,000s with one deal or one client? But now my thinking, and also what we have seen in quarter 4 and now, is the way we have beaten all these other agencies out there that were doing pretty much the same numbers that we were doing last year is by truly getting leverage from these big clients that we already have. So I mean, signing bigger deals with them, acting more as a strategic layer and actually understanding what are their goals instead of just trying to do their their basic campaigns and do the delivery and whatnot. No, you want to actually act as, okay, how are we actually going to get them to their goals? Because at least for influencer marketing, it's more of a function where it plays into the entire brand's marketing goal. You know, if that is stopped, everything else suffers. That's usually what it is with big brands. So going into that and knowing that, you want to understand, okay, how can I truly act as a strategic partner with these brands? And as soon as you do that, you can unlock a lot of leverage or a lot of scale. So instead of signing a couple $1,000s, you're signing tens of thousands and even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like we have a lot of those deals now where we're signing hundreds of thousands of dollars with just a single client because we're managing a lot, firstly, but then also we're acting as a strategic layer. We're giving them the performance they need, and you're actually focusing on these clients, okay? And as they say, right, it's always easy to sell to an existing client versus a new client. So that's number 2. Now, number 3, okay, being insanely pessimistic with my hires, okay? What I have realized is, so in the start, right, and this goes back to a bit about point 1, which is hiring for capacity. What I really realized, and this is something you really just learn when you do it, because you know, especially when you're new to the game of hiring, you're gonna have this issue and you're gonna run into this bottleneck. So I hope I can help with this, and I hope you can avoid making the same mistakes. But you want to be insanely pessimistic with hires, okay? Even if there's huge capacity problems in the business, and right now we are insanely understaffed, like there's so much more that we need help of, but this is a mistake that I'm not gonna do again as I did before, because you would rather hire slowly and be patient and find the right person than just hire someone because it's really urgent and you need it and you just want to fill the capacity, okay? You want to be insanely pessimistic, okay? Extremely pessimistic about who you get into the business. Now, there's a lot of things that come into what makes the right person, right? Who is actually a good player, who's the right player. But a big fundamental that my leadership and hiring coach, by the way, and he's an absolute legend. Like every time I speak with him, he's so positive. He's so positive to speak to. He is such a good person at heart. You can just tell, okay, he's 59 years old. He charges just very less amount of money based on how much he's already made and how much he has, and his net worth is 9 figures easily. And you can just tell, right, for a person like that who's charging so less for, well, 9 figures, he's in that game where he's beyond working for money. You know, he's already retired anyway. So I can tell, you know, like he's the kind of person who really tries to help people. And what I've learned from him is always you can tell the bad hires versus the good ones by just simply seeing how they speak, okay? And if they're very self-centered, because a good A player, they are always thinking beyond themselves. And yes, not just about their goals and what they want to do and whatnot, but something bigger than themselves. It's as simple as that, because it's really a big, like, this is something that is, I wouldn't say it's still like just the 2 poles, because things obviously move in a circle, not a pole. But you can just easily tell a good person versus a bad person. A bad person, they will always just think about themselves. They're always just self-centered. They're always just thinking about their own goals. And when you ask them questions in the interview, you're gonna be able to tell what are they talking about, and you just hear a lot of eyes, yeah, this is what I want, this is where my career should go, this, that. You will instantly know they're a bad person. And recently I've really filtered much better, because these guys, they're very good at their jobs, okay? They're competent, they have experience, whatnot. But then as soon as I hear things like that, I am still never taking them ahead. Whereas this person here, they are insanely good because they are always thinking about beyond themselves. You know, they're thinking about how they play into the entire team, how their function is going to make an impact with the entire team. They are very responsible. They are very good and very clear on their KPIs. They won't get jobs, or they won't go into jobs that have expectations beyond what they know they can do, because their goal is to come into the job and actually do it, not just get the job. So you will be able to tell that in the hiring stage as well. And the fundamental thing here is just you will be able to tell if they're self-centered or they're actually thinking about things beyond themselves. Okay, because the good people in life in general as well, they're always just not just thinking about themselves. Okay, they're always thinking, how is this bigger than me? Okay, always looking at that, and that's something that, look, as someone, I pride myself by living by that philosophy as well. I'm definitely not getting people that don't have that same mentality, because it's also about the culture. It's also about people that can understand the values that you have as a founder, because team culture, it can be anything in a business, right? But it should revolve around your own vision and your own values, because you are the founder, you are the CEO. It is your baby, it is your vision, it's your company. It's something that you have made from the scratch and on your own. So everybody inside that should also obviously reflect, right? So that is number three. Okay, being very pessimistic about the hires. Now, number four. Okay, this is also something I've talked about earlier, which is the A players, they will truly only stick if you provide clear clarity and accountability towards the goals and the KPIs. So literally today morning, it's a Sunday by the way, I still work, but today morning what I did is I went to every single team role, and including myself, because I'm still, obviously I'm the founder, there's nobody there to keep me accountable. But look, let me explain this with a bit of a explanation before. Now, the way a business works, right? Let's say you first start out, you're going to be doing everything yourself, but eventually when you start scaling, you want to look at the gaps and the things. So what my mentor tells me usually is, okay, note down all the 100 or 150 or even 1,000 tasks that are there in the business. The top 5, the most important top 5 revenue impacting, whatever it is, tasks that are there in the stage and the circumstance of the business, they should be to you. Everything else, delegate it. Okay, so even for those 5 tasks, right, and then everything else, as you start delegating, you're not going to be used to it in the start, right, because everything, you've been doing these things yourself as well. But then when you start delegating, you're going to realize that there's a bunch of roles that you want to fill, and then each role, it has a separate function, right? Now, the way the functions, you want to understand them is just simply by the business model and how, at least in your business, how things start and how things end, right? So how things start is probably the sale or the pre-sale or whatever it is that actually gets you the client. So you want to think about how things start to how things end based on how you first start out anyways. And once you map that out, you're going to have your core functions and your core departments or whatever, and then you're going to know, okay, which parts to fill, right? Now, the reason you need clear KPIs and accountability, even if it's you who is part of it, because in the start, especially even when you're at multi-5, multi-6 figures, there's still going to be things that you are tied down to, okay? And the whole point, okay, which I'm going to get to in my last point, is how you want to untie yourself, because that's the difference between what all the gurus are teaching you and what an actual business looks like. But this about replacing yourself, right? Until you do that, you still want to have your KPIs clearly defined, because this function still plays into all these other functions and all these other roles that are there in your business, right? So what I did today morning is every single role, I clearly define the KPIs, what are the core objectives, how does this tie into the agency's yearly, quarterly goals, and whatever it is, if it's qualitative, quantitative, whatever it is, and how each member is going to be responsible for each. Okay, so this goes beyond, like I said in the start, it goes beyond just people being in the business for just capacity, because then you actually kept accountable for KPIs and results, and then also how you are going to be tying in with the entire team. Okay, so this is something that our ops guy, that I really appreciate, he's done, is how he has tied these functions into each other. So the way the business model moves, right, if it starts at sales, then something they support the sales, then once the sale is done, the fulfillment, and then to keep that all together, which is ops at the end, and then that leads to agency outcome, right? These are the functions, at least for this size of a business, or at least in my personal case right now, right? So I have defined my KPIs right now, which is mainly the sales, and then I'm still doing a bunch of other stuff that I'm always really doing, but that's how, once I've defined the sales, the pre-sale, the team supporting the sales, the fulfillment, the ops, the agency outcomes, once I've defined all these, I can also now start identifying all these KPIs, all these things that I need to replace myself out of, and then hire accordingly. So you see how this provides firstly insane clarity, and then you also set deadlines against these KPIs of a review update, as my mentor calls it, who I've learned from, which is each KPI that you have, if these are some things that you actually have to, so some KPIs, they will be daily responsibilities and just making sure that they do the quality checks and whatnot. But then some of them, they're actually like properly project based KPIs, and then you want to attach like a review date at the end of it, where you yourself or whoever is the responsible person, the line manager, they go and they review those KPIs, they review the project, they review, okay, what have they done so far, because this way you get to know if the hires are good or bad. Okay, because there will be people that can do the work, but then if they cannot do this, and also make sure they hit those timelines, and they're kept accountable to these deadlines of actually delivering a proper quality work based on the KPI and expectations that are there, until they can do things like that, they are not A players. Okay, and that is how you like literally filter and weed out all the bad candidates. Okay, so there's obviously initial hiring, and then once they actually come to the business, which is a whole different game again, how do you want to treat that? Okay, now firstly, on a fucking side note, okay, if people out there really like, this is how complex shit is. Okay, this is what you learn, and I've learned this shit after months and months of like trial and error. So all these people out there, that are like, yeah, I'm gonna go to college, then I'm gonna get a job at a fucking 5,000 headcount company, and then I'm gonna realize and get experience, and then I'm gonna start my own business, bro. Like, the fuck do you talking about? Like, dude, you can see that, but dude, there's so much shit to do. There's so much shit to learn, and there's always just so many things that you have to manage that you're not gonna have that experience to just start your own business. Okay. So on a side note, this is something that really fucking pisses me off when people say, "Yeah, I'm gonna go get this experience." Like, stop throwing around this experience word like a loose fucking term. Okay, because that's just lose. You have no idea. Okay, I'm out here, I'm running just a fucking company of 6-7 people, and this is all the things that I'm managing, and I had to learn this for like an entire year of trial and error. Okay, what makes you think that you're gonna just get a job and get the experience and then start a fucking hedge fund or whatever the fuck you want to start? Okay, on a complete side note. But look, back to the point, right? Once you actually start defining these projects, these deadlines, the KPIs, and they actually do them, you can review them, and then yes, is this employee a good employee? How has their work been? How have they done against the KPIs? How have they actually done the KPI? How have they actually presented it to you? Does it actually meet the goals? Does it actually meet to the end goal, which is the agency outcome? And then also, were there any backlogs? Because look, the thing about this is it keeps people accountable, and then also if they cannot meet those deadlines, there's a good team culture in place, because then they have expectations beforehand. Okay, if things are getting delayed, they should be bringing that up beforehand. Okay, they should make sure, yeah, look, there's a lot that's happening right now, team is understaffed, whatever, I'm handling that as well. The other team is not able to actually provide the insights or the layers or the tracking for me to actually go and do this. There's gonna have to be a pushback. If they can at least do that and inform you, and okay, yes, you can be accommodative, you can actually just push that back, embrace the team culture. Okay, at least they're doing things like that. Sure, go for it, do it. But then eventually, yes, you want to set those expectations and you want to set hard deadlines, because that is the team culture that you need. Okay, that is a team culture that you actually need, and this applies to you as well when you first start in a business. I was doing my KPIs today versus the other teams, the whole teams as well, and I saw my KPIs. I was like, wow, like, I actually now know the value that I'm providing to the business, because I'm still spearheading a lot of the sales of the business. It's not a good point, which I'm going to get to now in just a bit. This is the last point, but I put those KPIs down like, wow, now I have actual targets and sites, because I've been showing up, I've been doing my work every day, I've been doing the sales, this, that, whatever, but now I actually know, okay, this is what we actually need, and I am kept accountable to this, and I'm also going to show this to the team. This is what I'm doing, this is what you guys have to do. We all have to work together in full transparency, in an environment where there's just collaboration and ideas and everyone working towards the same goal, and this is how we're going to go and we're going to achieve this. Okay, very, very important. Okay, nobody really teaches this stuff about how you actually want to handle the business, what's happening inside, how you actually manage the employees, because look, it's one thing to hire good people and even hire A players. It's a complete other topic to just keep them. Okay, and to keep them, you obviously have to show up as a founder, as a CEO, as the leader. You have to show up with this vision, these values. You have to obviously do your part, and then then you can expect the A players to do something for you. Now, to the last part. Okay, one thing that we're really doing is investing a lot of money back into the business. Okay, so what I've realized, like, there's a lot more risk that I'm playing now, because it's actually a bit funny, because just 2 years back, 2 years back, There was nothing, pretty much nothing in the business. About 15 months back, my goal was hitting 6 figures a yearly run rate. Now we're spending almost, I don't want to give the exact number, but multi 6 figures every single for the year. Sorry, multi 6 figures run rate for the year in just purely expenses of the business and the risk that I'm taking on. So what I realized is scale will come with huge risk. Okay, and you have to actually be willing to do that. I'm feeling like it's insanely a bit uncomfortable for me right now, because it's obviously new territories, it's new waters. I haven't invested this much money back in the business. You obviously feel a bit different in your skin, but that's also a good sign, because you're evolving into this new person who's going to then go and do bigger things, and obviously want to take that risk. But the reason you're doing this, and this is what I was saying before, right? I had all my KPIs set out, but I obviously want to replace myself out of these things, because enterprise game is the main game, and nobody is really gonna see an enterprise business, or this is just how business is run as a whole, because this is truly business. Okay, what you see as a course guru is the guys who's posting content out there and like fucking selling you the course, and even if they don't sell their course, but they have businesses that are backed against their face, and whatever monthly figures they want. Look, that's not real business. That's just not real business. Okay, it's not at all real business. So don't, like, it's a very good business model. The margins are insanely good. Risk wise, it's amazing, but it's not real business. Okay, you can make billions of dollars too with those type of models. And like, if you're really like special one of one and you've been in it for years and years and years and years and on, but look, a real business has enterprise. Okay, thin margins, good margins at 25%. Okay, dude, businesses that have like at least 150 people, 15% margins is good margins. I know it's for me, it's like a bit vague, it feels weird, but that's real business. Why? Because it's stable. Okay, it's stable. They have people that are there in every single function of the business. I was talking about functions earlier. They have people responsible for each of these functions. Okay, each of them. And this is true business. Okay, because you want to invest the money in, you want to invest that money in to build true enterprise, because that's really how business is done. That's really how you have high leveraged, insane valuations of value just to your company, not just by the monthly numbers you're doing, but the actual value of the name of your business. Okay, and that's where you really like want to just start building layers. So they have this thing called the agile system, where each function, each person is responsible, right? So as I was mentioning, we have sales, pre-sales, fulfillment, ops, delivery, whatever. In those functions, each person is responsible. Now I have noted down, my functions of sales and whatever it is, and I realized if I want to truly get a business that has just value, just for the fucking kicks of it, like I want a business. I want people to say I have a business that has actual value to its name itself. Okay, for that I have to replace people that are in the sales part and whatever it is that I'm doing that's going to tie me down to the business, because the truth is a CEO should not be doing any of these things. Okay, as horrible, as lazy as it sounds, a CEO is not supposed to be doing a lot of the groundwork. Most likely it's what I've just described, where you have the vision and the team culture that you're setting out on these people, and all your teammates, they have clear accountability to what they have to do, what are the deadlines, why are we doing this, where are we actually trying to head to, and you want to just lay out that vision for them so that they just go and they start executing on that. And then as things come up, they are pretty much coming to you with the ideas, and every time you're having an agenda call, whatever, it's mainly them pitching to you about what has been happening in the business. This is what we should be doing, this is where we're headed, these are the updates. It should really just be them talking, and then as that keeps happening, you guys keep laying down what are these KPIs, what are these targets, what are the projects you're going to do, and it's sort of like you're just there at the top, you're making the hiring decisions, whatever. You're making sure the team is running well, whatever, that's the CEO's job. And then you're also just signing off on things as they keep moving. So it's really the team coming to you. So it's almost not like ground level work. It's more like actually managing the entire thing from above, like a general pretty much going to war. They're not actually at the war, but they're looking at it, they're planning the strategy, they're planning, okay, what should we be doing, how do the commanders or captains go about doing things, and then actually lead the soldiers into doing things. Okay, so that is something that's truly how business is, and that is a big goal for me this year. I want to really get to that stage where I'm not gonna say I want to be in Bali, just fucking sitting on a beach and sipping on fucking soda or whatever, but I want to be at that stage where I'm actually playing chess and actually playing strategy and actually making moves with the business and actually helping the team and the generals and the captains and the soldiers and actually building them up and building their skill sets and making them understand, okay, these are your projects, these are your targets, this is what you can be doing, so that you also know, like, yeah, this is how I'm growing in my career, these are all the things that I'm learning, this is the value that I can just see attached to myself because I'm able to do these things. And they sort of just have a more better understanding of what they can help with and what they can provide, and then also how they work in the organization, how it works as a cross-functional movement, right? So wow, I just went on yapping for the last 25 minutes, but this is pretty much what I have learned so far in the business, and it's truly how the hiring and the delegation game works and how scale is truly unlocked after 6 figures or 7 figures, and do the multi seven and then also the 8 figures. Okay, this is obviously big games. It's a big number. It's huge risk. When I look at these big companies like fucking $1 billion companies, obviously it's still a very small game. But look, I'm seeing this, I'm realizing all of this, and I'm seeing people throw out the word, yeah, I'm gonna do this and get experience and then go and do this. Like, no, bro, like, you have to actually look, the best experience, it's doing things like this, okay? If you really want experience, this is the best thing you should do, because you're gonna actually understand what it's like to be in the shoes of the founder and the CEO, because you'll know then, okay, these are the current functions of the business, this is the current team, this is the current hires I need to make, this is currently where we're at, this is currently where we have to go, these are the current bottlenecks of the business, these are the huge risks, these are the things that I have to remove from the business. I have to maybe remove myself from this business, hire someone else for this job or this part, and then have them do it, and then you're pretty much just there up there and seeing it, right? So when you see all these layers, you see all these functions in these people that go to college and then they get a job. Like, I understand the whole experience thing, but look, you have to actually play that game properly. Like, you have to actually understand what the experience it is you're talking about. Okay, don't just throw that word out there, because yes, you can do that. In fact, that's a very good way to do it. And it is the way. It is the way. Okay, unless you want to always start your business, but if that's the way, understand this. Okay, understand that this is how you have to play the game. You have to understand all these functions. And if you go and you work at a fucking company with like 30 departments, do you really think you're understanding all these functions? Do you really think you're going to be able to manage or get the experience to handle all these functions, so that in 3 years you're just going to go and start your own company? No, you're not. Okay, so if you actually understand how all these departments are there, how all these functions are there, what are the interprocesses inside these departments and these functions, how's the team inside each department playing, that's where true business is. Okay, and then if you really want to be a CEO, you have to manage all of that. Okay, you have to manage all of that. So just a quick sign note, but yeah, these are the things that I've learned so far, and yeah, I hope this business update is really good. In terms of business, it's really good, looking great. We're already at 7 figures for this year, and yeah, exciting things planned up, and I'm excited. Honestly, I'm really excited to just tackle all these things that I've talked about.